Hey girl, my name is Anel. Welcome to the Brave in Her podcast, where we inspire, empower, and motivate by sharing our stories of bravery. I strongly believe that by sharing our stories, we open ourselves to healing, but also serve to give hope and inspiration to those who are dealing with a tough situation. We will talk about all topics under the sun. Now let's hear your stories of bravery. Hey girl, thank you for being here today. In today's episode, we have my friend Katia, Katia Lopez, and she is here to talk to us about her journey of coming to the United States from El Salvador. Hi, Katia. How are you?
Hi, Anna. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that you're here to tell your story. Can you start with giving us a little bit of background about you, and then so we can get to know you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you to everybody that's listening. A little bit about myself. As my friend Anel mentioned, I'm Katia Lopez. I came to the U.S. From El Salvador. I am Salvadorian Honduran. My mom is Salvadorian. My dad is from Honduras. But I grew up mostly in El Salvador, so I consider myself more Salvadorian. I'm a mom now. I have two little ones, my boy and my girl. And, I came here when I was 11 years old. I think that I, had a lot of um, challenges along the way. Now being here in the United States, obviously things are a lot different here, but now I'm involved career-wise. I'm involved in the financial industry. I try to help educate our communities on the importance of financial literacy and try to help them, create pathways to accomplish all their goals. Money is a topic that we don't talk in our households, and I like to, share these concepts to our communities.
Yeah, I think that's very important. What you just said about finances, and that's great that you're, educating people and letting them know that talking about money is important. To just get secure a better future for for their families. Um, so you came from El Salvador. Can you tell us, at what age did you come and why did you come?
I came when I was 11 years old. My mom sent me out here. Most of my childhood, I grew up with my grandmother. El Salvador is a very poor country. And, there's a lot of struggles out there. I learned at a very young age with my grandmother to, find ways to survive. Third world countries, we pretty much live in survival mode most of the time. And, like most parents who send their children to the United States is to give us a better life. I came here with a tourist visa. I overstayed my welcome, and for me to have a better future for myself, I started living with relatives, and started going to school, try to get an education, pretty much everything that our parents bring us to this country.
So being in this country, you've been how long in the United States?
I got here when I was 11 years old. I'm 29 now. So about 18 years.
Years.
Right?
That's been like
That's a long
a
time.
lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have what have been the struggles that you've faced in this country?
The very first one that I had was the language. I did not know any English at all. It was a big culture shock for me. Number one, living with relatives that I never grew up with or have a close relationship with. Two, not knowing the language, as I mentioned. And then you three, just having a different culture. I was very young and I was very excited to come here. Don't get me wrong. It was my first time getting in an airplane. I wanted to, go to Disneyland. That was one of the things that I was told I was going to come here and do. But I went through a lot of challenges, going into school and trying to get an education. I took ESL classes, which is English as a second language. And, having to struggle to understand the language, I think was one of my biggest barriers while I was here young. Thankfully, since I was so young, I learned, and I think that one of the things that really helped me was getting out of my comfort zone. Most of the people that surrounded me spoke only English, so I tried to talk, even if it was broken, even if I wouldn't understand. I had some challenges in school, getting bullied for not knowing English. It was very harsh. And now that I have children, I try to have that conversation with my children to be nice to other kids, and ask them if other kids can be nice to them, because bullying is a real thing, and kids can be mean, So I think that those were some of the challenges that really set a tone and have shaped me into what I am now. And having to come out of my comfort zone really allowed me to grow, in all aspects of my life.
Yeah. Two things that you said. One was, that you just threw yourself out there when, being surrounded by other people that, spoke English. And, even though spoke English broken or broken English, you know, you were brave enough to be, to say, you know what, even though I don't speak it perfectly, I'm just going to throw myself out there and just, speak, the best I can so I can learn it. And I think a lot of people I know, like in my experience, like my parents, like I feel like they were intimidated to practice it because, they speak it like broken. And, because of that fear, they never got to really master the language.
Right, right. And it's so true. And I think that having to come out of our comfort zone, it's very important. I didn't know anything at all. I only knew to say yes and no, literally.
Yeah.
And, when, I took ESL classes, and my teachers, my AP literature, I took a lot of literature because I wanted to learn. They would tell me, like, read out loud, watch TV in English, listen to music in English, talk to people. Like my cousins, most of my cousins spoke only English. So they would talk to me in English, and they would have their broken Spanish. So I was the Spanish girl to them, that's what they would call me. And I started trying to come out of my comfort zone of, just surrounding myself with people that only spoke my language, and kind of wanting to have friendships that spoke the other language, so that they can correct me. And I think that what's important for us to understand is that when people correct us, it's not because they try to make fun of us, it's because they want to help us, So little things like that, I also try to teach my kids now, now that they're in elementary, they're trying to learn how to read and stuff like that. I tell them, like, read out loud and listen to yourself. And I try to apply things that help me, so that I can also help them. And I'm also learning a lot from them along the way, because again, I started school here the last month of 8th grade, and then jump right into high school. So a lot of the educational system that the US has is a lot different from mine growing up, so I learned a lot from my kids as well.
Yeah. And I like how, you're teaching them also to, like, not be bullies. Like, earlier you were saying that you were bullied, and you're teaching your kids to, like, not bully other kids, or if they see it, just, speak up, and I guess protect the person that's being bullied, because that's not okay.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Other than learning the language, how else have you been, coping with, leaving your country so young, and, being here for majority of your life?
Um, that's actually a very good question. I think I just figure it out along the way. Because I think because of the values of me growing up with my grandmother, rest in peace. I saw the lady work very hard, trying to put food in our table, any way possible, so coming here, living with uncles and stuff, and having to, figure out ways on how to get by, or, excel into something, we come here for the education and trying to get better. But because I had that mentality and those values growing up of, working on trying to figure ways out. It was hard for me in the sense of, getting a job, not having a social security at the time, and all those different things that play a big part. It's just having that mentality of wanting to figure out ways to, feed myself and wanting to be that self-sufficient person. Because again, growing up with my grandmother, she was a very independent woman. My mom is a very independent woman. She was a single mom. I never saw my dad. I know he's Honduran, but he was not part of my life. So seeing my mom work two jobs, seeing my grandmother work at restaurants, ironing people's clothes, washing other people's clothes, and all these different things allowed me to bring those values being here in the United States and wanting to, work for people or like get a job or, try to figure out ways how, just get by, and I think that those were some of the things that really helped me and shaped me into who I am now to like, don't stop, we got to keep going. That also allowed me to get out of my comfort zone because I feel like if we have to change our mindset, we're not gonna, um, people are not gonna come in and try to, not about helping us, but change our mind to us. I think that we're the ones who have to um, think and say like, okay, I need to do something with myself, or I need to change things, and they're not going the right way. So yeah, I think that all of the things that I went through growing up, living off cafecito con pan growing up, because we didn't have a lot of money for milk, and all these different things allowed me to like, hustle, like we say, so I'm grateful for that. And I try to teach these values to my children because being a first generation immigrant, it's a different experience than, my kids now being here and being citizens in this country.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. You came here to the United States, and you already had the mentality of like work hard. Something that your grandma taught you. You saw her working really hard, and you wanted to take that on too, and work very really hard for yourself and also for for your kids now.
Right.
Um, what do you miss the most from your country? You've already been here for 18 years, and you were only 11 years when you left. But is there anything that you missed from your country?
My family back home, I do miss them very much. I miss the food. Although I don't have like a memory of like exactly how everything was, I do miss the warm beaches. Because when I came out here and I came to the beach, it was very cold, the water, so the humid weather, the culture, it's so different, and I think it really humbles you seeing how third world countries, are compared to how we are here. I think a lot
Yeah.
of us are privileged, and this is a great country with a lot of great opportunities. And I think that my family, the food, the environment, and regardless of the struggles that I went through, I think that those are some of the things that I miss the most.
What are the, I guess, differences that what are the differences between where you came from El Salvador, and living here? Like, what are the major differences living in those two countries?
Well, I mean, my country is, how can I say it's a very poor country, and I'm telling you, I come from growing up with borrowed clothes, like, or clothes given down from cousins to cousins or siblings to siblings, and coming here, I was really amazed by like just everything, like the structures, like the buildings, and the privilege that many people have. Coming out here, I realized that we get a lot of help in this country. If you're a citizen, you get a lot of help by the government, or you can get an education a lot more easier than out there. I think that in third world countries, we're more in the survival mode, and going back to our countries, it really humbles us, and it's always like never forgetting where you come from, um, That's very important, and I miss like everything out there, although as I mentioned, it was hard, it was very challenging, and I'm so grateful to my mom that she allowed me to come here, because I think that I have a better life than what I could have had out there. Things happen for a reason. God wanted me to be here, and I'm trying to do the best that I can to make my grandma proud now that she's in heaven, make my mom proud, and for my kids to see that no matter where I come from, you also have to look forward to where you're going.
Yeah, that's a really good teaching to for your kids. Um, what advice would you give you know someone that's coming to this country, but specifically someone that's coming so young, as young as you were, 11 or even younger? What advice would you give them? Um, you know, in how can I say it? Like, what advice will you give them to let them know, like, it's going to be okay, and because that people might miss their country, and or they're struggling here because, like how you said, like the broken English, or like they might feel embarrassed, or practicing it. Like, what advice will you give them?
Yeah, I think that one of the very first one is just being vulnerable about it. I do remember crying a lot for like the first year or so because I missed everything from back home. I missed my grandmother. She had to go back. Another thing is like, be open, whoever you're here with now, express your challenges. And I think that seeking for help is very important. I was so young, I was so little. I came in onto the teenage years. So that was a lot harder too, because then you start having like bad influences in your life, and it's like having to figure out what's right from wrong, because yes, I do had my uncles and aunt, and my mom came after that, but it's all like, who are you surrounding yourself with? That's also very important. I did during the time when I was younger, I did try to make friends, and I did things like, I didn't know the language to begin with. So I try to help like people to like do their homework, and that was bad because, but now I think about it and I look back and it's like, I didn't know any better. I wanted to have that validation of being a part of something, and I think that's also very hard, and understanding, because I feel like the outsider all the time. That was very harsh too, being so young. And then as I grew up, thankfully, my circle of friends, and quote unquote friends, they changed, and that's when I started seeing people wanting to teach me and like correct me when I wasn't saying things right. And I started realizing like, what are the good friendships, what are the not so good friendships, and kind of just trying to stay positive. I think that's another thing, to stay positive. And if you miss your home, still stay in touch with your loved ones back home, and find that support system, people that are speak your language, so that you can have that comfortability or that comfort for missing your background. Some of the things that I used to do is like go to a Salvadorian restaurant with my uncles, and that kind of will give me like a little um, piece of home, although it was not the same. But those are some of the things that I can tell someone that comes here so young. Learn, don't be shy. I know it's hard at first because I've been there. It was very, very uncomfortable for me to try to come out of my comfort zone. But the first steps will be hard. And after that, you're gonna feel much better knowing that you're taking that step, and that you will get out of that. You will succeed. You will learn the language. Just be consistent. I think that's another thing, is staying consistent. Try to listen to a lot of English music, read out loud, listen to yourself, and talk to people. And don't be shy. That's very important.
Yeah, I like what you said, to not be afraid to be vulnerable. And it's okay that you're missing your country, but remember, the reason why you came to this country. And also, like how you said, find that support system, find those friends or, those people that will help you grow. And like you said, like correct you, not in a bad way, but in a good way, to help you grow, help you learn, so you can be successful. And also just find that community that speak your language, so you can feel like, a part of, not a part, but like, so you can feel, like how you said, like a piece of home,
Have that,
like,
feel that comfort.
yeah, find your people, like,
Yes.
that speak your language. I think that's very important to make you feel like a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, it's never going to be, I feel like, I like I said, it's not, I haven't experienced it myself, like firsthand, but I could imagine that it would never get easier, being away from your country where you were born and raised, and you have to come to a foreign country where it's a completely different culture and a completely different language. And I can only imagine that it's really hard, and you miss your country, you miss your food, the culture and everything. But I think what you just said, just it's okay to be vulnerable and cry here and there, and or every day, if that's what you feel like it, cry and miss your country, but also reach out for help, reach out to the community.
Yes, that's very important.
Every guest that I have on my podcast, I started asking them if they have a favorite quote or a song or a Bible verse that they would like to share.
My favorite quote, which I think it was like my first tattoo, if I'm not mistaken, or my second tattoo I have, it's called, it says, "Faith is the light that walks me through the darkness." Um, I'm 150% believer in God, and I went through a lot of challenges, from back home, coming to this country, growing up, and just overall, it was a very challenging for me. And I think my faith is what kept me going. Um, you know, my grandma always was believer in God, and that got passed along to me. And that's my favorite quote. I think it's very important to have faith in anything that you do, because you will find that strength. And that's one that I live by. That's something that sticks to me all the time. And if God has something written for you, nothing will stop that, and just have faith in him, and things will prosper.
Yeah, I love it. Um, how can we find you? How can we find more of your story and just follow you along in your journey?
I have an Instagram page. It's my personal page. I put a lot of things about my family and things that I do. It's Kat, KATT.M15. And you can see more about me through my journey. And I appreciate everyone listening to this, and I hope that it's relatable to some people that are currently struggling, being in this country, or being foreign of something.
How else can we find your business page as well?
My business name is content creation, is the Instagram is Secure My Wealth. I try to share financial concepts in that page. Again, that's something that I like to do, is try to educate our communities, and I talk a little bit more on the financial side of things on that page.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Katia, for sharing your story and being vulnerable, and, sharing your struggles, you coming to this country. And I just want to say, like, you're an awesome person, and, you're doing such a great job with your kids. And I'm so glad that, we connected and we're friends. And thank you for being here.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful for your friendship. And I am very excited for your podcast and everything you're going through. You're such an amazing girl, and I know that everything that you set your mind to, it will prosper. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode inspired you. If you like this podcast, please share on social media and tag me on Instagram @TheBraveandHer. I would love to hear your stories of bravery.